Have you ever wondered what lies beyond the edge of everything we can see? Picture this. You're standing at the shore of an infinite ocean, but instead of water stretching to the horizon, it's the cosmos itself. And somewhere out there, at a distance so vast it defies comprehension, lies a boundary. Not a wall, not a fence, but something far more mysterious. The edge of the observable universe. But here's where things get truly mind-bending. What if I told you that this edge isn't really an edge at all? What if the universe doesn't stop there, but continues on in ways that challenge everything we think we know about reality itself? Tonight, we're embarking on a journey to the very limits of existence. We'll explore the cosmic horizons that define what we can see, venture into the theoretical realms of what might lie beyond, and grapple with questions that have puzzled humanity since we first gazed up at the stars. From the observable universe's boundary to the possibility of infinite space, from cosmic inflation to the multiverse itself, we're about to discover that the edge of everything might just be the beginning of something even more extraordinary. This isn't just about astronomy or physics. This is about confronting the deepest mystery of all, the nature of existence itself. And as we'll see, the answer to what lies beyond the edge of the universe might be stranger, more beautiful, and more profound than we ever dared imagine. So settle in, let your mind wander to the furthest reaches of possibility, and prepare to have your perspective on reality gently turned upside down. Because when we're talking about the edge of the universe, we're not just exploring space, we're exploring the very boundaries of what it means to exist. The story begins with a simple but profound realization. Everything we can see in the night sky, from the nearest star to the most distant galaxy, exists within what astronomers call the observable universe. And this cosmic sphere, vast as it is, has a very definite edge. 5 billion light-years in every direction from Earth. 8 billion years old. 8 billion years to travel to us. The answer lies in one of the most fundamental properties of our cosmos, expansion. Space itself is stretching, carrying distant galaxies away from us, even as their light journeys toward our telescopes. It's like watching a friend wave goodbye from a train that's accelerating away from the station. The light left those distant galaxies billions of years ago, but in the time it took to reach us, space expanded, pushing those galaxies much farther away. This creates what we call the particle horizon, the boundary beyond which we simply cannot see. Not because there's nothing there, but because light from beyond that boundary hasn't had enough time to reach us yet. It's as if the universe has drawn a spherical curtain around us, not out of secrecy, but out of the simple mathematics of time and distance. But this isn't the only horizon that shapes our cosmic perspective. There's also the event horizon, which marks the boundary of what we'll ever be able to see, even if we wait forever. Due to the accelerating expansion of space, distant galaxies are being carried away from us faster than their light can catch up. These galaxies are effectively disappearing from our future view, slipping beyond a cosmic point of no return. And then there's the Hubble horizon, perhaps the most poetic of all cosmic boundaries. This marks the distance at which space itself is expanding at the speed of light. Beyond this point, galaxies are receding from us so quickly that they appear frozen in time, their light stretched to invisibility by the relentless expansion of space. These horizons aren't walls or barriers in any physical sense. They're more like the curved horizon of Earth's surface, beyond which you simply can't see because of the geometry of space and time itself. But unlike Earth's horizon, which you can cross by taking a step forward, these cosmic horizons represent fundamental limits imposed by the structure of the universe. What makes this even more intriguing is that these boundaries are constantly shifting. The observable universe grows larger every second as light from more distant regions finally reaches us. In a very real sense, we're witnessing the universe reveal itself to us, one photon at a time, like a cosmic photograph slowly developing in the darkness. But here's where the mystery deepens. When we talk about the edge of the observable universe, we're not talking about the edge of the universe itself. We're only talking about the edge of what we can see. The universe beyond our cosmic horizon could be infinite, stretching on forever in all directions, filled with galaxies, stars, and perhaps even other forms of matter and energy we can't begin to imagine. This distinction between what we can observe and what actually exists is crucial to understanding the true nature of cosmic boundaries. Our observable universe is like a small bubble of visibility in what might be an infinite ocean of existence. We're not at the center of everything. We're simply at the center of our own ability to perceive. And this raises one of the most profound questions in all of science. If we can't see beyond the edge of the observable universe, how can we possibly know what's there? Now that we've journeyed through the observable universe and its cosmic horizons, we arrive at perhaps the most unsettling question in all of cosmology. If there truly is an edge to everything we can see, what could possibly exist beyond it? This question has haunted scientists and philosophers alike, pushing us into realms where observation ends and imagination must take over. The simple answer is that we genuinely don't know. But the deeper answer reveals something far more profound about the nature of reality itself. You see, when we speak of what lies beyond the edge of the observable universe, we're not just asking about distant galaxies or exotic matter. We're confronting the fundamental limits of knowledge and the strange relationship between existence and observation. Let's start with the most straightforward possibility. The universe beyond our cosmic horizon might simply be more of the same. Imagine the observable universe as a sphere of light centered on Earth, extending 46.5 billion light-years in every direction. Beyond this boundary, there could be countless more galaxies, stars, and planets, all following the same physical laws we observe here. These regions would be governed by the same processes of stellar formation, galactic evolution, and cosmic expansion. They would contain the same mix of hydrogen, helium, and heavier elements forged in ancient supernovae. This scenario assumes what cosmologists call the cosmological principle, the idea that the universe looks roughly the same everywhere when viewed on the largest scales. Just as a small patch of ocean looks similar to any other patch, the universe beyond our vision might mirror what we see around us. There would be galaxy clusters connected by filaments of dark matter, vast cosmic voids punctuating the landscape, and perhaps even other worlds harbouring life. But here's where things become genuinely strange. If the universe is infinite, as many cosmologists suspect, then beyond our observable boundary lies not just more space, but every possible arrangement of matter and energy. In an infinite universe, the laws of probability demand that every possible configuration of particles must occur somewhere. This means that beyond our cosmic horizon, there could be perfect copies of our galaxy, our solar system, even exact duplicates of Earth and everyone on it. The mathematics are startling. In a volume of space roughly 10 to the power of 118 times larger than our observable universe, quantum mechanics tells us there should be another region identical to ours in every detail. Another you would be reading these very words, having lived an identical life with identical thoughts and experiences. And in an infinite universe, there would be infinitely many such copies, along with infinitely many variations, where your life unfolded slightly differently. This idea, known as the infinite worlds hypothesis, stretches our understanding of identity and uniqueness to its breaking point. It suggests that beyond the edge of observable space lies a vast library of every possible story, every potential history, every conceivable variation of reality played out in perfect physical detail. But perhaps the universe beyond our horizon is not more of the same. Perhaps it's fundamentally different, operating under different physical laws or possessing different fundamental constants. the strength of gravity, the speed of light, the mass of electrons, all the numbers that define our physical reality, might vary from region to region in what cosmologists call a patchwork universe. In this scenario, our observable universe would be just one bubble in a vast cosmic foam, each bubble with its own unique properties. Some regions might have stronger nuclear forces, allowing for more complex chemistry and exotic forms of matter. Others might have weaker gravity, leading to universe-spanning structures that dwarf our largest galaxy clusters. Still others might be so different that matter as we understand it cannot exist at all, filled instead with energy fields and particles that obey completely alien physics. This concept connects to theories of eternal inflation, where the early universe underwent not one period of rapid expansion, but countless episodes of inflation occurring at different times and places. Each inflationary event would create a new bubble universe with randomly selected physical properties, like rolling dice to determine the laws of nature. Our universe would be the result of one particularly lucky roll that happened to produce conditions suitable for stars, planets, and life. The implications are profound. If this is true, then beyond our cosmic edge lies not just space, but an infinity of possible physics, an endless laboratory where nature experiments with every conceivable set of rules. Most of these regions would be sterile, unable to support the complex structures necessary for life. But in an infinite cosmos, even the most improbable combinations would occur infinitely often, suggesting that consciousness and intelligence arise in an infinite variety of forms throughout the greater universe. Yet there's another possibility that's even more radical. What if the question itself is meaningless? What if asking what lies beyond the edge of the observable universe is like asking what's north of the North Pole, or what happened before time began? This perspective emerges from our understanding of how space and time are woven together in Einstein's relativity. The edge of the observable universe is not a physical boundary, but an informational one. It's the limit of what we can ever hope to know, not necessarily the limit of what exists. Beyond this boundary, the concept of there loses its meaning because there is no way for information to travel between here and there. In this view, the universe beyond our horizon exists in a state of fundamental unknowability. It's not that we lack the technology to observe it, but that the very structure of space-time makes such observation impossible in principle. The boundary of the observable universe is written into the fabric of reality itself, a cosmic censorship that ensures some questions can never be answered. This leads to deep philosophical questions about the relationship between existence and observation. Does something exist if it can never be detected, even in principle? Are the distant regions beyond our cosmic horizon real in the same sense that nearby galaxies are real? Or do they exist in some liminal state between being and non-being, neither fully real nor fully imaginary? Some physicists have suggested that the question reveals a fundamental limitation in our thinking. We're trying to apply concepts like beyond and outside to the universe as a whole, but these concepts only make sense within a larger containing space. When we ask what's beyond the universe, we might be making the same mistake as asking what colour mathematics is or what sound looks like, mixing up categories of thought that don't actually connect. This perspective suggests that the universe simply is, without requiring a larger context or external reference frame. There is no beyond because there is nothing more fundamental than existence itself. The universe doesn't exist within space. It is space along with time, matter, energy, and the laws that govern their behaviour. But perhaps the most unsettling possibility is that what lies beyond our cosmic horizon is literally nothing at all. Not empty space, which is still something, but genuine nothingness, a complete absence of existence. This would mean that our observable universe is a finite island of reality surrounded by an ocean of non-being. This scenario challenges our deepest intuitions about existence and raises questions that may be unanswerable. How can something border on nothing? What would it mean for reality to have an edge? And if nothingness surrounds us, what prevents it from expanding inward and erasing everything we know? The mathematics of such a situation become deeply strange. In a universe surrounded by true nothingness, the boundary between being and non-being would be a place where the laws of physics break down entirely. Space and time themselves would terminate at this edge, making it impossible to ask coherent questions about what lies beyond. Yet even this scenario might not be as simple as it first appears. Quantum mechanics tells us that nothingness is unstable, constantly bubbling with virtual particles and energy fluctuations. Perhaps the edge of a finite universe would be a roiling boundary where reality and nothingness engage in constant struggle, with new regions of space occasionally erupting into existence while others fade away into the void. There's also the intriguing possibility that what lies beyond our observable universe is not space at all, but time. Some cosmological models suggest that the universe might be finite in space, but infinite in time, extending forever into the past and future, while being bounded in the spatial dimensions. In such a universe, the beyond would not be a place but a when, accessible not by travelling through space, but by journeying through time. This temporal perspective opens up entirely new ways of thinking about cosmic boundaries. Instead of asking what's beyond the edge, we might ask what's before the beginning or after the end. The observable universe would be just one temporal slice of a larger four-dimensional structure that extends infinitely in the time direction. Other theories propose even more exotic possibilities. What if the space beyond our observable universe has different dimensions entirely? Our familiar three-dimensional space might give way to regions with 4, 5, or even infinitely many spatial dimensions. In such a scenario, the question of what lies beyond becomes not just difficult to answer, but difficult to even formulate, as our language and concepts are built around three-dimensional thinking. The mathematics of higher dimensional spaces reveal structures of breathtaking complexity and beauty. In 4 spatial dimensions, there could be objects with no analogy in our three-dimensional world, following geometric rules that would seem magical to us. Matter and energy might organize themselves in ways that are literally unimaginable to beings evolved in three-dimensional space. Perhaps most remarkably, some theories suggest that what lies beyond our cosmic horizon is not physical reality at all, but pure information. In this view, the universe is fundamentally computational, a vast information processing system where matter and energy are simply different ways of encoding and manipulating data. If this is true, then beyond the edge of the observable universe might lie the cosmic equivalent of computer memory, vast storage systems containing the information that defines reality itself. The galaxies and stars we observe would be like processes running on this cosmic computer, while the regions beyond our vision would be the underlying hardware that makes computation possible. This informational perspective connects to some of the deepest questions in physics. If the universe is computational, then the limit of observation might not be set by the speed of light, but by the processing power available to generate the reality we experience. The edge of the observable universe would be the boundary of what the cosmic computer can render in real time, with more distant regions existing as compressed data waiting to be unpacked if and when observation requires it. Such ideas push us to the very limits of scientific speculation, into realms where physics begins to merge with philosophy and metaphysics. They remind us that the question of what lies beyond the observable universe is not just about cosmology, but about the fundamental nature of existence itself. As we stand at the edge of the known and peer into the vast unknown beyond, we're confronted with the possibility that some questions may be forever beyond our reach. the universe may be structured in such a way that certain truths remain eternally hidden, not because of technological limitations, but because of the fundamental architecture of reality itself. Yet there's something beautiful about this cosmic mystery. In a universe where every question had a definitive answer, where every mystery could be solved and every boundary crossed, existence might lose some of its wonder and majesty. The fact that there are edges to our knowledge, horizons beyond which we cannot see, preserves a sense of the infinite and the unknown that has driven human curiosity since we first looked up at the stars. Perhaps what lies beyond the edge of the observable universe is not meant to be known, but to be wondered about. Perhaps the boundary itself is more important than what lies beyond it, serving as a constant reminder of the limits of knowledge and the endless depth of reality. In the end, the question of what exists beyond our cosmic horizon may say more about us than about the universe itself. It reveals our deep need to understand, to explore, to push against the boundaries of the known. It speaks to something fundamental in human nature, our refusal to accept that there are places we cannot go and things we cannot know. So what lies beyond the edge of the observable universe? The honest answer is that we don't know, and we may never know. But in that uncertainty lies something precious, the preservation of mystery in an age of discovery, the promise that no matter how much we learn, the universe will always have more secrets to reveal. The universe stretches far beyond what our eyes can see, reaching into realms that challenge our very understanding of existence itself. 5 billion light-years in every direction from Earth. But this isn't the edge of everything that exists. It's simply the boundary of what we can observe, dictated not by the universe's actual limits, but by the fundamental constraints of light and time. Picture yourself standing in a vast dark field, holding a lantern. The circle of light around you reveals the ground, the trees, perhaps a distant hill. But beyond that circle lies more landscape, stretching endlessly into the darkness. Your lantern's reach doesn't define where the world ends. It only defines where your vision stops. The observable universe works much the same way, except instead of a lantern, we're limited by the speed of light and the age of the cosmos itself. This cosmic horizon exists because light, despite its incredible speed, still takes time to travel. The most distant objects we can see are those whose light has had just enough time to reach us since the universe began. Beyond this boundary, there are undoubtedly more galaxies, more stars, more worlds, but their light simply hasn't had time to complete the journey to Earth. They exist in a realm beyond our perception, perhaps forever hidden from direct observation. But what lies in this unreachable expanse? The possibilities are as profound as they are mind-bending. One compelling theory suggests that beyond our observable bubble stretches an infinite universe filled with countless galaxies arranged in patterns similar to what we see around us. If this is true, then somewhere in that vast expanse, there might be regions of space that look remarkably similar to our own corner of the cosmos. In fact, in an infinite universe with finite arrangements of matter, the laws of probability suggest that every possible configuration would eventually repeat. This leads to one of the most startling implications of modern cosmology. If the universe is truly infinite and filled with matter in roughly the same density we observe locally, then there would be regions so distant that they're essentially identical to our own. Not just similar, but identical down to the quantum level. There would be other Earths, other solar systems, other versions of you reading these very words. These cosmic twins wouldn't be copies in any meaningful sense, but rather independent regions where matter happens to have arranged itself in exactly the same way. The mathematics behind this possibility are surprisingly straightforward. If you have an infinite space filled with a finite number of possible arrangements, then every arrangement must occur infinitely many times. It's the same principle that guarantees that in an infinite sequence of coin flips, you'll eventually see any pattern you can imagine, no matter how unlikely. The universe, if infinite, becomes a vast library containing every possible story, including our own, repeated endlessly throughout the cosmic expanse. Yet infinity brings with it even stranger possibilities. Beyond regions that mirror our own, there would be areas where physical conditions are subtly or dramatically different. Perhaps regions where stars burn slightly brighter, where planets orbit in more eccentric paths, where life evolved along entirely different trajectories. The infinite universe doesn't just contain copies of what we know. It contains every variation, every possibility, every conceivable way that matter and energy could organize themselves across space and time. But the concept of what lies beyond our cosmic horizon isn't limited to simple extensions of familiar physics. Some theories propose that our observable universe might be just one bubble in a vast multiverse, a collection of separate cosmic regions, each with its own physical laws and constants. In this scenario, what lies beyond the edge of our universe isn't just more space filled with galaxies, but entirely different realities where the fundamental rules of existence might be completely alien to our experience. This multiverse concept emerges naturally from certain models of cosmic inflation, the theory that explains how our universe expanded rapidly in its first moments. If inflation occurred in different regions at different times, it could have created a patchwork of separate universes, each expanding within its own bubble of space-time. These bubble universes might have different values for fundamental constants, like the strength of gravity, the mass of electrons, or even the number of spatial dimensions. In some of these alternate regions, matter might behave so differently that stars and planets never form. In others, the physics might be so exotic that entirely new forms of complexity could emerge, perhaps giving rise to types of consciousness that we couldn't even imagine. The multiverse doesn't just extend space beyond our horizon, it extends the very concept of what a universe can be, creating an infinite landscape of possibilities where every conceivable set of physical laws plays out across cosmic time. Yet even these grand theories might not capture the full strangeness of what lies beyond our observable boundary. Some physicists and philosophers have suggested that the question itself might be based on flawed assumptions. Perhaps there is no beyond in any meaningful sense. Perhaps the observable universe represents not just the limit of what we can see, but the limit of what actually exists in any physically meaningful way. This perspective suggests that asking what lies beyond the edge of the universe is like asking what lies north of the North Pole. It's not that there's nothing there, but rather that the question doesn't have a coherent answer within our framework of understanding. The edge of the observable universe might represent a fundamental boundary beyond which the concepts of space, time, and existence itself break down or transform into something unrecognizable. These horizons that limit our view come in several varieties, each telling us something different about the nature of cosmic boundaries. The particle horizon marks the distance from which light could have travelled to reach us since the universe began. Beyond this lies the event horizon, representing the boundary beyond which events happening now will never be observable to us, no matter how long we wait. There's also the Hubble horizon, beyond which objects are receding from us faster than the speed of light due to the expansion of space itself. Each of these horizons creates its own version of beyond, its own realm of the unknowable. The particle horizon hides the deep past of distant regions. The event horizon conceals their future. The Hubble horizon cloaks entire regions in permanent mystery, forever beyond the reach of any signal or influence from our part of the cosmos. Together, these boundaries create a complex geography of knowledge and ignorance, mapping out what we can know, what we might someday discover, and what may remain forever hidden. But perhaps the most profound aspect of pondering what lies beyond the edge of the universe is how it reflects back on the nature of existence itself. The very fact that we can ask this question, that we can imagine realms beyond our perception, speaks to something remarkable about consciousness and its relationship to the cosmos. We are arrangements of matter that have become complex enough to contemplate the limits of their own knowledge, to wonder about regions of reality that may be forever beyond direct experience. This capacity for wonder, for imagining the unimaginable, might itself be one of the most extraordinary features of our universe. In a cosmos where most matter exists as simple atoms floating in empty space, we represent something unprecedented, at least in our local cosmic neighborhood. We are matter that has organized itself into patterns complex enough to think about the very boundaries of existence, to ask questions that might not have definitive answers, to find meaning in the contemplation of mystery itself. The edge of the universe thus becomes more than just a physical boundary. It becomes a mirror reflecting our deepest questions about existence, consciousness, and our place in the grand scheme of things. What lies beyond might be infinite space filled with endless galaxies, alternate realities with different physical laws, or something so fundamentally different from our experience that we lack the concepts to even think about it properly. But regardless of what's actually out there, the question itself reveals something essential about what it means to be conscious beings in a vast, mysterious cosmos. In the end, the edge of the observable universe stands as one of the great frontiers of human knowledge, a boundary that simultaneously limits and liberates our understanding. It reminds us that for all our scientific progress, for all our technological achievements, we remain small, curious creatures peering out into an immensity that may forever exceed our grasp. And perhaps that's exactly as it should be. The boundaries we've explored so far, the particle horizon, event horizon, and Hubble horizon, all speak to the limits of observation and interaction. But perhaps the most intriguing possibility is that these cosmic boundaries are not walls but doorways, gateways to understanding something far more profound about the nature of existence itself. Consider this. If space and time themselves are emergent properties arising from more fundamental processes, then asking what lies beyond the edge of the universe might be like asking what lies north of the North Pole. The question itself may rest on assumptions that don't hold at the deepest levels of reality. Some of the most fascinating work in theoretical physics suggests that our universe might be a hologram, where all the information contained in a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary. In this holographic principle, what we perceive as three-dimensional reality might actually be information projected from a two-dimensional surface. If this is true, then the edge of our universe might not be a physical boundary, but rather the limit of this cosmic projection. This leads us to an even more mind-bending possibility, that consciousness itself plays a fundamental role in the structure of reality. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that observation and measurement are not passive activities but active participants in the creation of physical reality. If consciousness is indeed fundamental, then the question of what lies beyond our cosmic horizon becomes deeply personal. Perhaps what lies beyond is not more space, not more matter, not even more dimensions, but the very source of awareness itself. Takes on new meaning when we consider that the universe might be a self-aware system, constantly observing and measuring itself into existence. In this view, the edge of the universe is not a place, but a process, the ongoing boundary between potential and actual, between what could be and what is. We might imagine that beyond our cosmic horizon lies an infinite field of pure possibility, a realm where the laws of physics have not yet crystallized, where time and space have not yet separated, where consciousness and cosmos exist in perfect unity. This wouldn't be a place you could travel to, because travel requires space and time. It would be more like the source from which space and time themselves emerge. This brings us full circle to the ancient wisdom traditions that spoke of reality as consciousness dreaming itself into existence. Modern physics, in its search for a theory of everything, seems to be approaching similar conclusions through the language of mathematics and experiment. The edge of the universe might not be an edge at all, but the eternal present moment where infinite potential continuously manifests as finite experience. As we drift toward the end of our cosmic journey, perhaps the most beautiful realization is this: we are not separate observers looking out at a universe from the inside. We are the universe becoming conscious of itself, asking questions about its own nature, exploring its own boundaries. The edge of the universe is not somewhere out there. It's right here, in the very fact of our existence, in our capacity to wonder, to question, to reach beyond what we know toward what we might discover. In the quiet moments before sleep, when the boundaries between self and cosmos grow thin, we might sense this truth directly. We are not in the universe, we are the universe, temporarily organized into the beautiful, temporary pattern of a questioning mind. But this quest to understand the very boundaries of existence reveals something extraordinary. We have journeyed far through the cosmic distances, traced the paths of ancient light, and contemplated the limits of knowledge itself. Yet what emerges isn't merely a scientific puzzle to be solved, but a profound meditation on the nature of reality and our place within it. Consider this gentle paradox. The very question of what lies beyond the universe's edge may itself be the key to understanding our cosmic home. When we peer toward those distant horizons, we're not simply looking outward through space, we're looking backward through time. The farthest reaches we can observe show us the universe as it was billions of years ago, still glowing with the afterglow of creation itself. This creates a beautiful symmetry. The boundary of our observable universe isn't a wall or barrier, but rather a moment frozen in cosmic time. Beyond that horizon, the universe was too young, too hot, too dense for light to travel freely. It's as if the cosmos itself is saying, this far back, no further. Not out of secrecy, but out of the fundamental structure of space and time. And yet, modern physics whispers tantalizing possibilities about what might exist beyond our cosmic horizon. Perhaps there are regions where the laws of nature unfold differently, where the constants that govern our reality take on new values. Imagine domains where gravity behaves strangely, where time flows at different rates, or where entirely new forms of matter and energy dance in configurations we've never dreamed of. Some theorists propose that our observable universe might be just one bubble in an infinite foam of cosmic domains, each with its own physical laws, its own history, its own story to tell. In this vast multiverse, our familiar physics might be merely local custom, the way things happen to work in our particular corner of a much grander reality. There's something almost poetic about this idea. Just as we've learned that Earth is not the centre of the solar system, and our solar system is not the centre of the galaxy, and our galaxy is not the centre of the universe. Perhaps our entire universe, with all its galaxies and dark matter and mysterious dark energy, is not the centre of existence itself. But here's where the mystery deepens beautifully. Even if infinite realms exist beyond our cosmic horizon, they remain fundamentally beyond our ability to observe or influence. The speed of light, that cosmic speed limit we explored earlier, ensures that some regions of reality will forever remain hidden from us. It's not that we lack the technology to reach them, it's that the very structure of space-time prevents any signal, any information, any causal connection from bridging those vast distances. This creates a strange kind of cosmic humility. We are like inhabitants of a small island in an infinite ocean, able to see only as far as the horizon allows. Beyond that line where sea meets sky, there may be other islands, other continents, other worlds entirely, but they remain forever beyond our direct experience. Yet perhaps this limitation is also a gift. It means that somewhere out there, beyond the edge of everything we can know, mystery still reigns supreme. In an age where we've mapped the Earth, catalogued the species and measured the cosmos down to the finest detail, there remains something gloriously unknowable at the very boundaries of existence. And maybe that's exactly as it should be. The edge of the universe, whether it's a true boundary or simply the limit of our observation, serves as a reminder that reality is larger, stranger, and more wonderful than any single mind can fully comprehend. It keeps us humble, keeps us curious, and keeps us dreaming of possibilities that stretch beyond the furthest reaches of imagination. So as we drift toward the end of this cosmic journey, remember that the question itself, what lies beyond the edge of the universe, is perhaps more beautiful than any answer we might find. It connects us to the deepest mysteries of existence, to the fundamental questions that have puzzled humanity since we first looked up at the night sky and wondered what lies beyond the stars. The universe, in all its vastness and mystery, remains our home. But perhaps the most profound realization we encounter when contemplating the edge of the universe is that we may be asking the wrong question entirely. The very concept of beyond assumes a framework that the universe itself creates. It's like asking what's north of the North Pole or what happened before time began. These questions reveal the limitations of our everyday thinking when applied to cosmic scales. Consider this gentle thought experiment. Imagine you're an ant living on the surface of a balloon. Your entire world is two-dimensional, curved around this spherical surface. You can walk in any direction, forever, without reaching an edge, yet your universe is finite. Now, if you could somehow perceive the third dimension, you might ask what lies beyond your balloon world. But from within your two-dimensional existence, that question has no meaning. The balloon's surface is all there is to your reality. We may find ourselves in a similar situation. Our universe might be finite yet unbounded, curved in dimensions we cannot directly perceive. The edge we seek might not exist in any meaningful sense, not because the universe is infinite, but because the very notion of an edge requires a framework that transcends our cosmic reality. This brings us to one of the most elegant possibilities in modern cosmology. What if the universe is closed, curved back on itself in higher dimensions? In such a universe, travelling in a straight line for long enough would eventually bring you back to your starting point, much like circumnavigating the Earth. There would be no edge to find, no boundary to cross, no beyond to explore. The universe would simply be, complete and self-contained, like a cosmic sphere floating in dimensions we cannot fathom. But even this description feels inadequate, because it still implies something outside the sphere. The truth may be even stranger. Perhaps the universe is all there is, not embedded in anything larger, not floating in any void. It simply exists, creating its own space and time as it goes, defining reality through its very being. This perspective transforms our understanding of what it means to exist at all. We often think of ourselves as occupying space, moving through time, existing within a container called the universe. But what if we are not separate from this container? What if we are the universe becoming aware of itself, cosmic material organized into patterns capable of contemplation and wonder? From this view, asking what lies beyond the universe becomes asking what lies beyond existence itself. And perhaps that question, beautiful in its impossibility, represents the ultimate boundary of human inquiry. Not a physical edge in space, but a conceptual horizon beyond which language and logic themselves break down. Yet even as we acknowledge these limits, something within us refuses to stop wondering. This drive to question, to push against boundaries, to seek what lies beyond the known, may be the most remarkable feature of consciousness. We are, in essence, the universe's way of questioning itself, of probing its own mysteries and marvelling at its own existence. And maybe that's enough. Maybe the search itself, the capacity to wonder about edges and infinities, about boundaries and beyonds, is more miraculous than any answer we might find. We are finite beings contemplating infinity, temporary patterns of matter and energy, pondering eternity, local concentrations of consciousness reaching toward the cosmic absolute. In our quest to understand what lies beyond the edge of the universe, we have journeyed through multiple realities, each more strange and wonderful than the last. We have considered infinite space filled with endless variations of ourselves, pocket universes with different laws of physics, dimensions beyond our perception, and realities where consciousness itself shapes the cosmic order. Perhaps what lies beyond the edge is not another place, but another way of being. Not more space and time, but the transcendence of space and time. Not other universes, but the source from which all universes spring. Not answers, but the eternal question that drives all seeking, the cosmic curiosity that moves through us whenever we look up at the stars and wonder. Standing at the conceptual edge of everything we know, we find ourselves exactly where we began, filled with wonder at the mystery of existence itself. The edge of the universe, whether real or imagined, whether physical or metaphysical, serves as a mirror reflecting our deepest questions about reality, consciousness, and our place in the grand cosmic story. And in that reflection, we discover something beautiful. The boundary we seek may not be out there at the edge of space, but here within us. At the boundary between the known and unknowable, between the question and the mystery, between the seeker and the sought. Now here's where things get beautifully strange, almost poetically absurd. We've explored the boundaries that light and expansion create, the horizons that define what we can see and reach. But what if the very question itself is like asking what colour Wednesday tastes like? What if asking what lies beyond the edge of the universe is fundamentally meaningless? Not because we lack the tools to answer it, but because the question assumes something that doesn't exist. Think about it this way. Imagine you're standing at the North Pole, that precise point where all longitude lines converge. You look around, and every direction you can walk is south. You'd probably smile and gently explain that the question doesn't make sense. There is no north of the North Pole. The concept breaks down, because north itself is defined in relation to that point. This might be exactly what's happening when we ask what's beyond the universe. The universe isn't just everything that exists, it's the very framework within which existence has meaning. Space, time, matter, energy, the laws of physics, even the concepts of here and there or before and after, all of these emerge from and within the universe. To ask what's beyond it might be like asking what's north of north itself. Consider space for a moment. We think of space as this vast empty stage where things happen, this three-dimensional theatre where planets orbit and galaxies dance. But modern physics suggests something far more subtle. Space isn't empty, and it isn't separate from the things within it. Space is dynamic, flexible, expanding. It's woven together with time into space-time, and it can be curved by matter and energy. Space itself might be created by the relationships between things, rather than being a container that holds them. If space is an emergent property of the universe, rather than something the universe exists within, then asking what's beyond the edge of space becomes like asking what's beyond the edge of relationships, or what's beyond the edge of information itself. The question assumes space extends beyond the universe, but what if space simply is the universe, or at least an inseparable part of it? The same puzzle applies to time. We naturally think of time as this river flowing from past to future, carrying events along with it. We imagine the universe existing in time, aging and evolving as the cosmic clock ticks forward. But what if time, like space, is something the universe creates rather than something it exists within? What if time is woven so deeply into the fabric of reality that asking what was before the universe, or what comes after it, is like asking what happened yesterday in a place where yesterday has no meaning? Some theories suggest that time itself began with the universe. Not that there was a moment when time started, because that would require time to already exist to have moments in. Rather, the universe and time emerged together, mutually creating each other in a way that makes before the universe not just unknown, but logically impossible. It's not that we can't access what came before, it's that before has no meaning in that context. This leads us into some truly mind-bending territory. What if consciousness itself plays a role in creating the boundaries we're trying to cross? Without consciousness to observe and categorize, would these distinctions even exist? Think about the act of observation itself. When you look at a distant galaxy, you're not just passively receiving information. You're participating in a relationship between observer and observed that gives meaning to concepts like distance, size, and existence. The galaxy exists in a specific way because you're there to observe it existing in that way. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that observation doesn't just reveal reality, it participates in creating it. Now, if consciousness is involved in creating the very boundaries and distinctions that make up our experience of reality, then the question of what's beyond the universe becomes deeply entangled with the question of consciousness itself. Are we asking what exists beyond the reach of any possible consciousness? Are we trying to imagine a realm that by definition cannot be experienced, cannot be known, cannot even be meaningfully said to exist? Perhaps the universe is best understood not as a thing, but as a process. Not a noun, but a verb. The universe isn't something that exists, it's something that's happening. It's the ongoing process of matter and energy organizing themselves into increasingly complex patterns, of space and time weaving themselves into the fabric of causality, of consciousness emerging from complexity and looking back at itself with wonder. If the universe is a process rather than a place, then asking what's beyond it is like asking what's beyond dancing, or what's beyond the process of growth, or what's beyond the activity of thinking. The question assumes the process is contained within something larger. But what if the process is all there is? What if the universe isn't happening somewhere, but is itself the very happening that creates the concept of somewhere? This brings us to one of the most profound possibilities of all. What if the universe is, in some sense, conscious? Not conscious like a person or an animal, but conscious in the way that a symphony is musical or a poem is meaningful. What if consciousness isn't something that emerged accidentally from unconscious matter, but is instead a fundamental feature of reality itself, as basic as space, time, and energy? If consciousness is woven into the deepest levels of reality, then the universe might be understood as a vast, slow, cosmic form of awareness exploring its own possibilities. From this perspective, every galaxy, every star, every planet, every living being would be like a neuron in a cosmic mind, participating in some unimaginably vast process of cosmic self-reflection. In this view, asking what's beyond the universe might be like a thought asking what's beyond the mind that thinks it. The thought exists within the mind, is made of the same stuff as the mind, and has no existence independent of the mind. Similarly, we exist within the universe, are made of the same stuff as the universe, and might have no existence independent of whatever cosmic process the universe represents. But here's the beautiful thing about this perspective. If we are aspects of the universe becoming conscious of itself, then our very wondering about what lies beyond is the universe wondering about what lies beyond itself. Our curiosity isn't separate from the cosmos. It's one of the ways the cosmos explores its own nature. Every question we ask, every theory we develop, every moment of awe we feel when looking at the stars, all of this is the universe's way of coming to know itself. So when we ask what's beyond the edge of the universe, we might be participating in the deepest possible form of cosmic self-inquiry. We're not separate beings looking at the universe from the outside. We are the universe looking at itself from the inside, using human consciousness as one of its organs of self-perception. This doesn't mean the question is meaningless. It means the question is incredibly meaningful, but not in the way we might initially expect. The question reveals something profound about the nature of existence itself. It shows us that reality is stranger and more wonderful than our ordinary concepts can capture. It suggests that the boundary between knower and known, between observer and observed, between self and cosmos, might be far more fluid than we typically imagine. Perhaps what lies beyond the edge of the universe is not another place, but another way of being. Not more space and time, but the source from which space and time emerge. Not more things, but the creativity that brings things into existence. Not more consciousness, but the mystery from which consciousness itself arises. And maybe, just maybe, that mystery isn't somewhere else, waiting to be discovered. Maybe it's right here, right now, looking out through your eyes, wondering about itself through your wonder, using your mind to explore the deepest questions reality can ask about its own nature. The edge of the universe might not be a place you can travel to, but a realization you can arrive at, a recognition that you're not separate from the cosmos you're trying to understand. In this sense, what lies beyond the edge of the universe might be the recognition that there is no edge, no beyond, no separation between you and the cosmic mystery you're part of. The universe doesn't have an outside because you're already inside the only inside there is. Now that we stand at the very threshold of all that exists, we find ourselves confronting perhaps the most profound mystery the human mind has ever attempted to grasp. We've journeyed through cosmic horizons, witnessed the boundaries of observation, and explored the theoretical edges of space and time. But here, at what we call the edge of the universe, we must confront a truth that challenges the very foundations of how we think about existence itself. The question of what lies beyond the edge isn't merely about discovering new territories or mapping uncharted realms. It's about confronting the limits of reality as we understand it, and perhaps more unsettling, the limits of understanding itself. Because when we peer into the deepest mysteries of cosmic boundaries, we begin to realize that the very concept of beyond might be a linguistic artifact, a remnant of our three-dimensional thinking, trying to make sense of something that transcends dimensional concepts altogether. Consider for a moment the profound strangeness of our situation. We exist within a universe that appears to have edges, horizons beyond which our instruments cannot peer, and our theories cannot confidently venture. Yet everything in our experience tells us that edges imply something on the other side. Every boundary we've ever encountered has been a transition from one state to another, one region to another, one condition to another. But what if the edge of the universe represents something fundamentally different? What if it's not a boundary between here and there, but rather the place where the very concepts of here and there cease to have meaning? The mathematics that describe our cosmos begin to whisper strange suggestions when pushed to their limits. They speak of regions where space and time themselves become fluid, uncertain, perhaps even illusory. In these mathematical landscapes, the familiar notions of distance and duration, of before and after, of inside and outside, start to dissolve like salt in an infinite ocean. The equations suggest that at the true edge of everything, we might encounter not another place, but the absence of place itself. Not another time, but the end of time as a meaningful concept. This leads us to one of the most haunting possibilities in all of cosmology. What if beyond the observable universe, beyond even the theoretical edges of space and time, lies something that cannot be described in terms of existence or non-existence? What if the ultimate boundary of reality is not a wall or a membrane or an interface, but rather a kind of ontological horizon beyond which the very categories we use to think about being and non-being simply don't apply? Some of the most cutting-edge theories in physics suggest that our universe might be something like a hologram, a projection of information encoded on a distant boundary. In this view, what we experience as three-dimensional space filled with matter and energy might actually be a kind of shadow cast by processes occurring on a two-dimensional surface at the edge of everything. If this is true, then asking what lies beyond that edge might be like asking what lies beyond the screen that displays a movie. The question reveals a category error, a misunderstanding of the fundamental nature of what we're observing. But there's another possibility that's even more profound and unsettling. What if the edge of the universe is not a place where our universe ends and something else begins, but rather the place where the universe becomes aware of itself? What if consciousness itself is not something that emerged within the universe, but rather something that the universe becomes as it approaches its own boundaries? This idea sounds mystical, even absurd, but it emerges from some surprisingly rigorous thinking about the nature of information and observation in quantum mechanics. The universe, at its most fundamental level, appears to be made not of matter or energy, but of information. Every particle, every field, every force can be described in terms of information processing and storage. And if the universe is fundamentally informational, then perhaps consciousness is not something separate from physical reality, but rather what information processing looks like from the inside. At the edge of the universe, where space and time begin to lose their meaning, perhaps what we encounter is not emptiness or void, but the universe's own self-awareness. Perhaps the cosmic microwave background radiation, that faint afterglow of the Big Bang that fills all of space, is not just the remnant of an ancient explosion, but the universe's own thoughts, its memories, its dreams. And here we find ourselves in territory that science has barely begun to explore, where physics meets philosophy, meets the deepest questions about the nature of mind and reality. Consider the possibility that our own consciousness, our ability to ask these questions and contemplate these mysteries, is not separate from the cosmic processes we're investigating, but intimately connected to them. Every time we observe the universe, we change it slightly through the act of observation itself. Quantum mechanics tells us that the universe exists in a superposition of all possible states until it's observed, at which point it collapses into a definite configuration. But what if, at the largest scales, at the very edges of everything, this process of observation and collapse is not something we do to the universe, but something the universe does to itself through us? What if consciousness is how the universe observes itself, and what we call the edge of the universe is actually the boundary of cosmic self-awareness? In this view, asking what lies beyond would be like asking what lies beyond awareness itself. The answer might not be another realm or dimension, but rather the recognition that awareness, consciousness, the very capacity to ask questions and seek answers, is the fundamental feature of reality that makes all edges, all boundaries, all distinctions possible. This brings us to perhaps the most beautiful and terrifying possibility of all. What if there is no edge to the universe, because the universe is not a container for reality, but rather reality itself learning to know itself? What if the expansion of the universe is not motion through space, but the growth of cosmic awareness? What if what we call the Big Bang was not the beginning of everything, but rather the moment when reality first became capable of self-reflection? In this view, we are not separate observers studying an external universe. We are the universe studying itself, reality becoming aware of its own nature through the evolution of complex information processing systems, like brains and minds, and perhaps eventually entire civilizations dedicated to understanding. The edge of the universe, then, would not be a place but a process, not a boundary but a becoming, not a limit but a transformation. And here, perhaps, we find the deepest answer to our question. What lies beyond the edge of the universe might not be another realm or dimension or void, but rather the eternal process of reality coming to know itself more completely. Each new discovery, each deepened understanding, each moment of cosmic awareness doesn't take us closer to some final edge or ultimate boundary, but rather reveals new depths, new mysteries, new horizons of self-discovery. The universe, in this view, is not a finite container with edges and boundaries, but an infinite process of self-exploration and self-creation. What lies beyond any edge we might discover is always more universe, more reality, more opportunities for awareness to deepen and expand and transform itself into ever more complex and beautiful forms of cosmic consciousness. This suggests that our question itself might need to be transformed. Instead of asking what lies beyond the edge of the universe, perhaps we should ask, what does the universe become as it continues to discover itself? What new forms of awareness, what new types of consciousness, what new ways of being might emerge as reality continues its eternal journey of self-exploration? And perhaps in the end, that's the most profound realization of all. We are not separate from the mystery we're investigating. We are the mystery investigating itself. The edge of the universe is not somewhere out there, waiting to be discovered. It's right here, in the very act of questioning, in the very capacity to wonder and seek and explore. What lies beyond the edge of the universe? This question has haunted humanity since we first gazed upward at the star-scattered canvas of night, wondering where it all ends and what, if anything, waits in that vast unknown. Tonight, we drift toward the boundaries of existence itself, exploring not just the limits of space, but the very nature of limits. Picture yourself standing at the shore of an infinite ocean. The waves roll endlessly toward you, each one carrying whispers from distances your eyes cannot fathom. This is much like our position in the cosmos. We stand on Earth, our small island of warmth and life, peering outward through telescopes and mathematics, trying to glimpse what lies beyond the furthest galaxies, beyond the last photon of light that will ever reach us. The universe, as we observe it, stretches roughly 46.5 billion light-years in every direction. This observable universe is our cosmic horizon, the boundary of everything we can possibly see or detect. But here's where it gets wonderfully strange. This boundary isn't a wall or an edge in any physical sense. It's more like a bubble of perception, defined not by the universe itself, but by the very nature of light and time. You see, light takes time to travel. When you look at the moon, you're seeing it as it was a little over a second ago. When you look at the sun, you're seeing it as it was 8 minutes ago. The nearest star beyond our sun shows you light that left 4 years ago. And when we peer at the most distant galaxies through our most powerful telescopes, we're seeing them as they were billions of years ago, when the universe was young and wild and very different from today. This creates what cosmologists call horizons, invisible boundaries that have nothing to do with walls or edges, but everything to do with the flow of information through space and time. The particle horizon marks the furthest distance from which light has had time to reach us since the beginning of the universe. The event horizon defines the furthest distance from which any signal sent today could ever reach a future observer. And the Hubble horizon represents the distance beyond which objects are receding from us faster than light itself. These horizons shift and change as the universe expands, sometimes revealing new regions of space, sometimes hiding others forever. They're like gentle curtains drawn across the cosmos, not by any physical barrier, but by the elegant mathematics of space-time itself. But what lies beyond these horizons? What exists in the vast regions of space that we can never observe, never visit, never even receive a whisper of information from? This is where science meets philosophy, where observation gives way to theory, and where the human imagination must fill in the gaps left by the limits of physics. One possibility is beautifully simple, more of the same. Beyond our observable universe, there might simply be more galaxies, more stars, more planets, stretching on indefinitely. An infinite cosmos filled with variations on the themes we already know. Some regions might be nearly identical to our own corner of space, while others might be utterly alien, governed by different arrangements of matter and energy. In an infinite universe, every possible configuration of atoms would eventually repeat. Somewhere, unimaginably far away, there might be another Earth, another you, living a life that mirrors your own in every detail. And somewhere else, another version where everything unfolded just slightly differently. It's a dizzying thought, this infinite library of cosmic possibilities, each story playing out in its own distant theatre. But infinity is a strange companion. If the universe is truly infinite, then it contains not just every possible arrangement of matter, but every possible set of physical laws. Regions where gravity works differently, where time flows at different rates, where the very constants that govern chemistry and physics take on new values. These would be like foreign countries on an unimaginably vast scale, each operating by its own constitution, each writing its own version of cosmic history. This leads us to the concept of the multiverse, the idea that what we call the universe might actually be just one bubble in an endless foam of universes. Each bubble would be its own cosmos, complete with its own space, time, and physical laws. Some might be similar to ours, capable of forming stars and planets, and perhaps even life. Others might be so alien that matter as we know it cannot exist, leaving them empty and dark, or filled with forms of existence we cannot even imagine. The boundaries between these universes, if they exist at all, would not be walls you could touch or barriers you could cross. They might be transitions so subtle that you wouldn't notice passing from one cosmos to another, or they might be gaps in reality itself, spaces where the very concepts of space and time break down and become meaningless. But perhaps the most intriguing possibility is that the question itself is flawed. What if there is no beyond? What if the universe is like the surface of a sphere, finite but unbounded? Just as you can travel around the Earth without ever reaching an edge, you might be able to travel through the universe in any direction and eventually return to where you started, having circumnavigated all of existence. In such a universe, asking what lies beyond would be like asking what's north of the North Pole. The question assumes a kind of space that simply doesn't exist. The universe would be complete in itself, self-contained, with no outside and no beyond. It would be its own answer to the question of boundaries. This brings us to an even deeper mystery, the nature of space itself. We tend to think of space as a container, an empty stage on which the drama of the universe unfolds. But modern physics suggests something far stranger. Space might not be a thing at all, but rather a relationship, a way of describing how objects and events connect to one another. If space is not a container, but a network of relationships, then the edge of the universe might not be a place, but a breakdown of relationship itself. Beyond the last galaxy, beyond the last particle, there might simply be no there. Not emptiness, not void, but the absence of the very concept of place. This is where language begins to fail us, where our everyday intuitions about inside and outside, here and there, begin to crumble. We're like fish trying to understand what lies beyond the ocean, using concepts that only make sense within the water. The beyond might be so fundamentally different from anything we can experience or imagine that our words and thoughts cannot even approach it. Some physicists have suggested that what we think of as the universe might actually be a kind of hologram, a three-dimensional projection of information stored on a two-dimensional surface. In this view, everything we experience, every star and planet, every thought and feeling would be like shadows cast by a deeper reality that exists in fewer dimensions. If this is true, then the edge of the universe might be like the edge of a movie screen, Beyond it lies not more movie, but the projector itself, the source of all the images we mistake for reality. The beyond would not be more space, but the machinery that creates the illusion of space. This holographic principle opens up possibilities that stretch the imagination. Perhaps consciousness itself is not produced by the brain, but is part of the fundamental information from which the universe is projected. Perhaps the boundary of the universe is also the boundary between mind and cosmos, the place where observer and observed meet and merge. As we drift deeper into these questions, we encounter the possibility that the universe might be conscious, that awareness itself might be woven into the fabric of reality. In this view, the cosmos would not be a collection of unconscious matter governed by blind laws, but a vast mind contemplating itself, a cosmic intelligence exploring its own nature through the experiences of countless beings. If the universe is conscious, then what lies beyond might be other minds, other cosmic intelligences, each dreaming their own version of reality. The boundary between universes might be like the boundary between dreams, permeable to consciousness but opaque to matter and energy. This brings us to the most profound possibility of all, that the edge of the universe is not a place, but a mirror. Every time we ask what lies beyond, we're really asking about the nature of our own minds, our own capacity to conceive of boundaries and infinities. The beyond might be nothing more than the reflection of our own consciousness, the universe's way of knowing itself through our questions. In this view, the quest to understand what lies beyond the edge of the universe is really a journey inward, an exploration of the depths of awareness itself. The cosmic horizons that limit our observations might be reflections of the horizons that limit our understanding, and the mystery of the beyond might be inseparable from the mystery of consciousness. Perhaps this is why the question feels so compelling, so urgent. We sense that in asking about the edge of the universe, we're really asking about ourselves, about the nature of mind and reality, about our place in the grand scheme of existence. The beyond calls to us not because it's out there somewhere, but because it's in here, woven into the very fabric of our being. As we contemplate these possibilities, floating gently through ideas that stretch from the mathematical to the mystical, we might find a strange kind of peace. The universe, whether finite or infinite, bounded or boundless, conscious or unconscious, remains magnificently mysterious. And perhaps that's as it should be. The edge of the universe, if it exists at all, might be less like a wall and more like a horizon, always receding as we approach, always promising new vistas just beyond our reach. It reminds us that we are creatures of the boundary, beings who live in the space between the known and the unknown, between the finite and the infinite. Tonight, as you settle into sleep, you might imagine yourself drifting toward that cosmic horizon, carried gently by the expansion of space itself toward regions that no human eye will ever see. You are traveling on the edge of everything, riding the boundary between existence and whatever lies beyond, part of the universe's endless journey into mystery. And in that gentle drift toward the unknown, you might find that the question of what lies beyond the edge of the universe has transformed into something even more beautiful. The recognition that you are already there, already part of the mystery, already swimming in the infinite ocean of existence that has no shore, because it needs no shore, no boundary, because it is its own completion. The beyond, it turns out, might not be somewhere else at all. Looking at the vast tapestry of cosmic mystery we've woven through 9 chapters of our journey, we find ourselves at a profound crossroads. We've travelled from the observable boundaries of our universe through theoretical realms of multiverses and holographic realities, questioned the very nature of consciousness itself, and pondered whether the edges we seek might be reflections of our own minds. Now, as we approach the culmination of our exploration, we must grapple with perhaps the most humbling truth of all, that in seeking what lies beyond the universe, we may have discovered something far more extraordinary than any external frontier. The question of what exists beyond the edge of the universe has led us through a labyrinth of possibilities, each more breathtaking than the last. We've considered infinite expanses where every possible reality plays out across cosmic distances, bubble universes spawning endlessly in eternal inflation, and dimensions folded so tightly around us that we swim unknowingly through seas of hidden space. We've entertained the notion that our entire reality might be a projection on some distant surface, that consciousness itself might be the fundamental fabric from which all existence emerges, or that we inhabit the mind of some vast, self-aware cosmos. But perhaps the most profound revelation isn't about what lies beyond our universe at all. Perhaps it's about the nature of boundaries themselves and our relationship to them. Every horizon we've examined, from the particle horizon to the event horizon, from the Hubble sphere to the cosmic microwave background, represents not just a limit to our vision, but a testament to the extraordinary nature of existence itself. These boundaries don't separate us from some greater reality. They define the stage upon which the magnificent drama of cosmic evolution unfolds. Consider the peculiar nature of asking what lies beyond everything. When we speak of the universe, we typically mean the totality of all that exists: space, time, matter, energy, and the laws that govern them. To ask what lies beyond this totality is to venture into territory where language itself begins to break down. It's like asking what's north of the North Pole, or what happened before time began. The question may not be meaningless, but it certainly pushes us to the very limits of conceptual thought. Yet in pushing against these limits, we discover something remarkable about ourselves. The human mind, evolved on the surface of a small planet orbiting an ordinary star in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy, somehow possesses the capacity to contemplate infinities, to imagine realities beyond direct experience, and to find meaning in the face of cosmic vastness. This capacity for wonder, for questioning, for reaching beyond the immediately knowable, might itself be the most extraordinary phenomenon in the universe. Think about this for a moment. In all our speculation about what might exist beyond the observable universe, we've been using minds that are themselves products of this universe. Every thought about parallel realities, every equation describing extra dimensions, every meditation on consciousness and reality emerges from neural networks forged in the hearts of ancient stars. We are the universe thinking about itself, wondering about its own boundaries, questioning its own nature. This reflexive quality of existence, this strange loop where the universe contemplates itself through conscious beings, suggests that the boundary between inside and outside, between self and other, between known and unknown, might be far more fluid than we typically imagine. If consciousness is indeed fundamental to reality, as some of our explorations have suggested, then the question of what lies beyond the universe becomes a question about the nature of awareness itself. Perhaps the most honest answer to our central question is that we don't know, and perhaps we can't know, what lies beyond the universe in any conventional sense. But this isn't a failure of science or philosophy, it's a recognition of the profound mystery at the heart of existence itself. The fact that anything exists at all, let alone a universe capable of producing beings who can contemplate their own existence, is so improbable, so extraordinary, that it borders on the miraculous. The boundaries we've explored throughout our journey, the cosmic horizons that limit our observations, the theoretical barriers that challenge our understanding, the conceptual walls that confound our language, all of these might be features rather than bugs in the cosmic design. They create the conditions under which meaning, purpose, and wonder can emerge. A universe without boundaries where everything was immediately knowable and accessible might be a universe without mystery, and therefore without the driving force that leads conscious beings to grow, explore, and transcend their limitations. In seeking what lies beyond the edge of the universe, we've discovered that the most profound truths might lie not in some external realm, but in the very fact that we can ask such questions at all. The capacity for wonder, the drive to explore, the ability to imagine realities beyond our immediate experience, these might be the universe's way of transcending its own apparent limitations. Through consciousness, through curiosity, through the endless human quest for understanding, the universe extends beyond itself. Every time a human mind contemplates infinity, the finite becomes a window into the boundless. Every time we imagine parallel realities or higher dimensions, our three-dimensional existence becomes a gateway to possibilities beyond counting. Every time we recognize the beauty in a sunset or find meaning in a moment of connection with another conscious being, the material universe reveals its spiritual depths. Perhaps what lies beyond the edge of the universe is not another place or another realm, but another way of being. Perhaps the boundary is not spatial, but experiential, not physical, but metaphysical. The edge of the universe might not be a location, but a transition, not a barrier, but a doorway, not an ending, but a transformation into something that transcends our current categories of understanding. As we stand at the threshold of this recognition, we might find that the journey itself has been the destination. In exploring the boundaries of the cosmos, we've explored the boundaries of our own consciousness. In questioning the nature of reality, we've questioned the nature of ourselves. In seeking what lies beyond everything, we've discovered that we ourselves are the beyond we were seeking. The universe, it seems, has evolved conscious observers not just to witness its majesty, but to transcend its apparent limitations. Through consciousness, the finite becomes infinite. Through imagination, the bounded becomes boundless. Through love and wonder, and the relentless human quest to understand, the universe reaches beyond itself into realms that exist not in space or time, but in the deeper reality of meaning and purpose and connection. So what lies beyond the edge of the universe? Perhaps it's not a what but a who. Perhaps it's not a place but a presence. Perhaps it's not something we can discover but something we already are. In the end, the greatest frontier might not be out there among the stars, but in here, in the mysterious depths of consciousness itself, where every moment of awareness is an act of a cosmic transcendence, where every question about ultimate reality is the universe asking itself who it really is. The edge of the universe, then, is not a boundary, but a mirror reflecting back to us the infinite mystery of our own existence. And in that reflection, we find not answers, but something far more precious, the recognition that we are not separate from the cosmos we seek to understand, but integral participants in its ongoing creation, consciousness emerging from matter to contemplate the mystery of its own being. What lies beyond the edge of the universe is the same thing that lies at its very heart, the inexhaustible mystery of existence itself, forever questioning, forever exploring, forever reaching towards something greater than what it knows itself to be. Part 11 of our cosmic expedition brings us to perhaps the most profound question in all of existence. What happens when we reach the absolute edge of everything we know? We've journeyed through observable horizons, contemplated infinite expanses, and wrestled with the possibility of multiverses beyond imagination. But now, as we approach the final frontier of understanding, we must confront a truth that's both humbling and breathtaking. The edge of the universe might not be a place at all, but rather the edge of meaning itself. You see, when we speak of boundaries in the cosmos, we're really talking about the limits of causality, the borders of information, the frontier where physical laws begin to dissolve into pure mathematical abstraction. Beyond the particle horizon lies not just distant galaxies we cannot see, but regions of space-time that are fundamentally disconnected from our reality. These aren't simply faraway places, they're realms where the very concept of place starts to break down. Consider this: if space and time emerged together in the Big Bang, then asking what lies beyond the universe's edge is like asking what's north of the North Pole. The question itself might be meaningless because it assumes a framework that doesn't exist. The universe doesn't expand into something, it expands by creating something. Space itself unfolds with the expansion, carrying galaxies along like raisins in rising bread dough. But here's where things get deliciously strange. Some theoretical physicists propose that our universe might be like a soap bubble floating in a cosmic foam of other universes. In this multiverse scenario, the edge of our universe would be where it interfaces with other bubbles, other realities with potentially different physical constants, different dimensions, different rules entirely. Imagine universes where time flows backward, where gravity repels instead of attracts, where consciousness takes forms we couldn't even comprehend. Yet even this multiverse model pushes the boundary question further out. What contains the multiverse? What lies beyond that? We find ourselves in an infinite regression of containers and contained, like Russian dolls stretching toward infinity. Perhaps the deepest truth is that the universe has no edge, because it has no outside. It's not embedded in anything larger, it simply is. The quantum realm offers another perspective entirely. In quantum field theory, empty space isn't actually empty, but seethes with virtual particles popping in and out of existence, a frothy ocean of potential energy. Some theories suggest our entire universe might have emerged from just such a quantum fluctuation, a random bubble in an eternal quantum foam. If this is true, then beyond our universe lies not emptiness but pure quantum possibility, an infinite field of potential realities waiting to crystallize into existence. String theory takes us even further down the rabbit hole. It suggests our familiar three-dimensional space might be just a thin slice of a higher dimensional reality called the bulk. In this view, our universe could be like a two-dimensional shadow cast by a higher dimensional object. What lies beyond our cosmic horizon might be other branes or dimensional membranes floating in this higher dimensional space, occasionally colliding to create new universes in spectacular cosmic crashes. But perhaps the most profound possibility is that the edge of the universe is really the edge of information itself. Everything we can know, everything that can causally affect us, everything that can ever be part of our story is contained within our cosmic horizons. Beyond those boundaries lies not just the unknown, but the unknowable. It's not that we lack the technology to see beyond. It's that beyond might be a concept that simply doesn't apply. This brings us to a startling realization. The universe's edge might be more like the edge of a story than the edge of a continent. Stories have beginnings, middles and ends, not because they exist in some larger narrative space, but because they create their own context, their own meaning, their own boundaries. Perhaps our universe is similar, a self-contained narrative of matter and energy, space and time, consciousness and causality, with no need for an external stage on which to perform. The ancient philosophers spoke of the music of the spheres, imagining celestial bodies creating cosmic harmonies as they moved through space. Modern cosmology suggests something even more beautiful. Our universe might be a single note in an infinite symphony, one voice in a cosmic chorus we can never fully hear. The edge of our universe would then be where our note fades into the greater music, where our particular melody dissolves into the endless improvisation of existence itself. What's remarkable is how this question about cosmic boundaries ultimately circles back to questions about consciousness and meaning. The universe's edge isn't just a physical frontier, it's a conceptual one. It's where physics meets metaphysics, where science encounters philosophy, where human understanding bumps up against the limits of what minds like ours can comprehend. Some mystics and philosophers have suggested that consciousness itself might be the true edge of the universe, that mind is the boundary where physical reality transforms into something else entirely. In this view, asking what's beyond the universe is like asking what's beyond awareness itself. The question dissolves, not because it lacks an answer, but because it transcends the categories of question and answer altogether. As we stand at this conceptual precipice, peering into the ultimate unknown, we might find that the most honest response is a kind of cosmic humility. The universe has spent billions of years creating the conditions for minds capable of asking such questions. Perhaps the fact that we can wonder about cosmic boundaries is itself more mysterious than whatever lies beyond them. The edge of the universe, then, might be best understood not as a place, but as a mirror, reflecting back our deepest questions about existence, meaning, and our place in the cosmic order. It's where science becomes poetry, where knowledge becomes wonder, where the universe reveals itself not as a thing to be fully understood, but as an inexhaustible source of mystery and awe. And perhaps that's exactly as it should be. Perhaps the greatest gift the universe gives us isn't answers, but better questions, not destinations, but more beautiful journeys, not edges, but endless depths to explore. As we reach the culmination of our cosmic journey through the deepest questions the universe can ask, we find ourselves standing at the threshold of the ultimate mystery. We've explored the observable horizon, ventured into theoretical realms of multiverses and higher dimensions, contemplated the nature of time and space themselves, and questioned whether reality extends beyond our capacity to perceive or even imagine. Now, in these final moments of our exploration, we must confront the most profound truth of all, the beautiful, humbling, and perhaps liberating reality that some questions may forever dance just beyond the reach of complete understanding. The edge of the universe, if such a thing exists, represents more than a boundary in space or time. It embodies the fundamental limits of knowledge itself, the horizon beyond which even our most sophisticated theories and elegant mathematics begin to whisper rather than declare. We've seen how the observable universe stretches 46.5 billion light years in every direction, how the cosmic microwave background radiation carries the faint echo of the universe's first light, how dark matter and dark energy shape the very architecture of existence in ways we're only beginning to glimpse. Yet for all our measurements and models, for all our particle accelerators and space telescopes, the question of what lies beyond remains tantalizingly open. Perhaps this is as it should be. Perhaps the universe, in its infinite wisdom or cosmic humor, has designed itself to always offer one more mystery, one more layer of reality to explore. The multiverse theories we've discussed suggest that our entire observable cosmos might be but a single bubble in an endless foam of universes, each with its own physical laws, its own story of expansion and evolution. String theory whispers of dimensions curled up so tightly that they exist everywhere, yet nowhere we can directly perceive. The holographic principle hints that all the information in our three-dimensional reality might be encoded on a two-dimensional surface, like shadows on the wall of Plato's cave, but shadows that somehow contain the full depth of existence. As we've journeyed through these ideas, we've encountered the recurring theme that the edge of the universe might not be a place but a concept, not a wall, but a mirror reflecting back our own limitations and possibilities. The event horizons we've explored, the particle horizons that define what we can observe, the Hubble sphere beyond which space itself expands faster than light can travel, all these represent boundaries not just in space, but in the very structure of causality and information. They remind us that the universe has its own rules about what can be known, what can be communicated, What can influence what across the vast scales of cosmic architecture? The inflationary epoch that we believe preceded the cosmic microwave background represents a period when the universe expanded faster than light, stretching quantum fluctuations to cosmic proportions, seeding the large-scale structure we observe today. But inflation itself raises profound questions. What caused it to begin? What caused it to end? What existed before that primordial expansion began? These questions push us to the very limits of physical theory, where mathematics becomes poetry and science approaches philosophy. We've contemplated the possibility that beyond our observable horizon lies not empty space, but fundamentally different kinds of reality. Regions where the constants of physics take different values, where electrons might be heavier, where gravity might be weaker, where the very concept of matter and energy might transform into something unrecognizable. We've considered that space and time themselves might be emergent properties, arising from more fundamental processes that operate according to rules we haven't yet discovered, or perhaps cannot discover, from within the system they create. The anthropic principle we've touched upon suggests that the very fact we exist to ask these questions constrains the possible answers. The fine-tuning of physical constants that allows complexity, life, and consciousness to emerge might be explained by the existence of countless other regions where different values prevail, regions forever beyond our ability to observe or visit. In this view, we exist in a cosmic oasis, not because the universe was designed for us, but because only in such oases can observers arise to wonder about their existence. As we've explored these cosmic frontiers, we've also encountered the limits of language itself. How do we describe what lies beyond description? How do we conceptualize what exists beyond the reach of concepts? The mathematics that guides our theories becomes increasingly abstract, dealing with entities and relationships that have no direct analogue in human experience. We speak of 11-dimensional spaces, of quantum foam, of eternal inflation. But these words are fingers pointing at a moon we cannot directly see, tools stretched to their breaking point in the attempt to grasp the ungraspable. Yet perhaps this reaching beyond our grasp is itself the point. Perhaps the edge of the universe exists not to be crossed, but to inspire the crossing. Every generation of humans has pushed against the boundaries of the known world, from ancient explorers sailing beyond the horizon to modern cosmologists probing the deepest structures of space-time. Each journey of discovery has revealed not just new territories, but new ways of thinking, new tools for understanding, new questions that reshape our sense of what it means to exist in this strange and wonderful cosmos. The edge of the universe might ultimately be the edge of ourselves, the boundary where human consciousness meets the incomprehensible vastness of existence. But even this boundary is not fixed. Our understanding expands, our instruments grow more sensitive, our theories become more sophisticated. We may never see beyond the cosmic horizon, but we continue to see further and deeper than ever before. We may never fully answer what lies beyond the universe, but the very asking of the question transforms us, expands our sense of possibility, reminds us that we are part of something immeasurably larger than ourselves. In these final moments of our journey, as we prepare to return to our daily lives and immediate concerns, we might pause to appreciate the profound privilege of existing in a universe that allows such questions to be asked. We are conscious beings who have emerged from cosmic dust, who have learned to contemplate our own origins, who can look up at the night sky and wonder about things that happened billions of years before we were born and that will continue billions of years after we are gone. We are the universe becoming conscious of itself, asking questions about its own nature, its own boundaries, its own meaning. The edge of the universe, then, is not a destination but a direction. It points us toward the eternal human project of reaching beyond what we know, of imagining what might be possible, of finding meaning and purpose in the very act of questioning. Whether that edge is 46 billion light-years away or exists in dimensions we cannot perceive, whether it marks the boundary of a multiverse or the limit of space-time itself, it serves as a reminder that existence is far stranger, far more wonderful, far more mysterious than we can fully comprehend. And perhaps that is the most beautiful answer of all. Perhaps the universe has arranged itself so that there will always be something more to discover, always another horizon to approach, always another mystery to inspire wonder. The edge of the universe might be the edge of knowledge itself, but it is also the beginning of imagination, the starting point for dreams, the foundation for the endless human journey toward understanding. As we close this exploration, we carry with us not just facts and theories, but a renewed sense of our place in the cosmic story. We are temporary arrangements of atoms and energy, brief flickerings of consciousness in the vast darkness, yet we are also the means by which the universe comes to know itself. In asking what lies beyond the edge of the universe, we participate in the greatest adventure of all, the universe's own quest to understand its nature, its purpose, its ultimate destiny. The edge of the universe awaits, not as a final answer, but as an eternal invitation to keep wondering, keep questioning, keep reaching toward the infinite mystery that surrounds and sustains us all. And in that reaching, in that wondering, in that eternal human refusal to accept the limits of the known, we find perhaps the closest thing to transcendence that finite beings can achieve. We become, for a moment, citizens not just of Earth, but of the cosmos itself, participants in the grand cosmic story that began with the Big Bang and continues in every moment of curiosity, every flash of understanding, every question that opens our minds to the vast and beautiful unknown.